Welcome, everyone. Today's discussion is on AI and cyber risk, securing the enterprise in the age of AI. As organizations accelerate AI adoption, they are not just unlocking new capabilities, they're also introducing potentially a new category of cyber risk. Some of us have heard about a new model from Anthropic. They unleashed a new model called Mythos. That one caused quite a stir. We are gonna discuss that as well today. AI systems are expanding, unfortunately, that attack surface. They interact with sensitive data, they automate decisions, and in the hands of bad actors, they can actually do quite a bit of damage, unfortunately. So today we have got a very interesting panel of speakers. I would like to introduce you to our speakers. We have got Mina Movahedi. You are a strategic cybersecurity professional and specializing, from what I understand, in incident response and operations.
Yes.
You are a cyber threat investigator at Bell. Thank you
Yes.
for joining us.
Thank
Um,
you.
a leader in cognitive security, cyber emotions. Uh, and I see that you are recognized 2025 Women in Tech Global Awards, gold medal,
Yes.
and
Thank
the
you.
woman to watch.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We also have got Yevgeny Haram. You are a cybersecurity architect, an advisor, and author, TEDx speaker. And you have a book out, Architecting Success, the Art of Soft Skills in Technical Sales. You're also CSO, Chief Strategy Officer with Discern Security and a cybersecurity expert.
Yep, happy to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We also have got, let me pull up, Negar Farjania. You are with M&P Digital, cybersecurity cloud transformation leader, Canada's top women in cybersecurity, a great deal of experience, over 15, almost 20 years of experience in platform modernization, user-centric innovation. Very, very impressive. We are extremely excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We also have got Alex Plotkin. You're the founder and CEO of Cyberwall Inc. Very impressive. You operate in Canada and the US, 25 years of experience and expertise in this topic, AI, cybersecurity. We are excited to have you here. And in this year, you earned the AI Data Security Specialist designation. Very impressive. We are excited to have you here. So to kick off our discussion, the question everybody wants to know is how do we keep the enterprise safe? How do we balance that aggressive demand for AI integration and the critical risk of that data leakage, the prompt injection, AI models, AI technology? Everyone is running after AI tools. We work in companies, employees want more AI. But how do we balance that risk? If anyone wants to start.
Maybe I can start if you hear me. So, as you mentioned, everyone now is just to jump to the AI, or organizations they are looking to go to AI. So they are deploying a lot of AI solution in any level of enterprises, and at the same time, they ask the people to use the AI to accelerate the productivity in the teams. So as more as we have this, let's say, hype to jump to the AI, I mean the risk is going even more and more. So There should be some solution, because we cannot stick to the traditional solution like the rigid blocking the website and then ask the people don't use the open source, don't put the information. Beside that of the user training, I think we should have some deployment for AI gateway. For example, we should have some DLP filters to make sure that our information, our data is sanitized in any level of the company, and also make sure that whatever we are putting in the AI or in our let's say our people, our employee, put those information in any LLM tools or LLM open source. So we should make sure that those data doesn't leave our company without any human intervention, or we have the people that looking what is coming, how is traffic is moving, or how is data is going and from which channel. So I think putting some output validation or AI gateway, and at the same time user training as always, it can help us to kind of manage the risk in the data exposure or data leakage. But at the same time, I mean, it's now is the best effort, like every solution that we have in cybersecurity.
I think this is a very good beginning, and I agree with everything you say, and I try to add some of the ideas that I have as well. So you mentioned some of the fundamental cybersecurity aspects and basics, and I want to add that people need to understand the assets first. People need to understand what does they actually have in their environment before they add AI. The moment you understand the assets, the moment you understand what application you're running, then you can go to understand what's happening with AI. And another fundamental part is to have some kind of policy, what you can do, what you cannot do, what you can expose, and people need to read it to sign it, so at least they will aware on what you can do. It doesn't mean that right away you will able to prevent it, like this DLP, but at least they have the awareness on what need to be done and what can be done in the environment.
I also think, can you hear me? Yeah, I also think we need to separate enterprise and small and medium businesses, because I can see on enterprise level, banks, insurance company, big law firms, they set up separate department just to deal with AI, what tools to adopt, to validate that tools are legitimate, what information they receive, where they will send them. And on a level of SMBs, and sometimes it's companies 200, 300, 500 employees, the CEO just go decide that he wants to use the AI tools, install it on his laptop, give access to his email, to his OneDrive, to his SharePoint, and then I get a call from the IT director. I don't know what to do. I cannot tell my CEO not to use it, but I also understand the risk that's associated with it. And I think that's two different levels that we need to address as well. What do we do with the enterprise? How they're doing it today? What the steps they take into safeguard the data, and what the small companies, 200, 300, 500 employees, I'm not talking about 5 people companies that just go and use free ChatGPT, what can be done for the small businesses.
So to just add to what everyone said, like, the reality is most organizations treating AI is still like it's a software development problem, which it definitely isn't. It's not a software development problem. Actually, data governance and a trust problem. So, even your cybersecurity department, you can't just be the department of no. You can't stop a site from going live like you used to because it was a software development problem. So you block it, people go somewhere else, and as Mina was talking about it, people go shadow AI, that becomes another problem altogether. So generally, easier, better approach, as everyone said, like classify the risk clearly. What's the risk with this type of AI you're trying to allow? Enable it quickly so people don't go around your back, and put the guardrails. And guardrails are simple, as everyone said: identity, data, security, model usage, all those great things. So the only thing is, scary part of these attacks are that they don't exploit the infrastructure. That's easy to secure. They exploit trust. And then AI, this is no longer a technology problem because of that. It's a trust problem. If you think of like what happened to Samsung a few years ago, It wasn't that they didn't have the tool, they didn't have guardrails, it's that the developer actually went and copied the source code to an external LLM, right? So that's a trust problem. That's not that they didn't have the infrastructure. So you have to really build all of that plus the governance to get everything going. I just wanted to add that in there.
So we heard how small, medium businesses differ from big, large companies. If you sit in a bank, you're going to have the department, maybe sub-department, to manage the AI tools. You might have another department around AI use cases. You're going to have maybe yet another department for cybersecurity, information security. But if you're in a small, medium business, you might not have all the luxuries, and you might not have the cycles or the time. And you also don't have the same pressures. Like you don't have the pressure like a regulated company and regulated industry. And what ends up happening is you now have got that gap between those large enterprises that are maybe moving slower because they take more steps to secure. And then you have got smaller startups, small businesses, they're moving lightning speed. They put in, someone just asked me, oh, what about OpenClaw? Do you have it on your laptops? Not so much, maybe not so much, not something that I'm seeing would happen in financial industries. And you also mentioned about shadow AI. How about we decompose that a bit further? That's actually a huge topic. It's when employees go home, I can have ChatGPT, I can have anything on my laptop, I can do quite a bit. And then maybe I email myself or employees sending data and processing it outside of those approved patterns, or bringing AI, let's say, on your cell phone into the office. And
I
now
think
we
we
have
need
got,
to define
yeah.
first what shadow AI, because everyone can, what you're saying right now, it's a good examples, but I'm sure everyone here will have a bit of a different definition of shadow AI. So maybe
So
we'll
what is
start
your
from there.
definition of shadow AI?
So from my perspective, shadow, it started, let's go back a bit in history. Shadow IT was before shadow AI. And in the way I define it is something I'm doing when I actually don't have approval from IT or IT didn't let me do it. And from this perspective, it means IT have some kind of regulations to start it to be allowed. Because if there's no regulations, then everything is allowed in a way because nobody told me. So shadow IT before was application or SaaS application like Dropbox, for example, box that I couldn't use before. Shadow AI, in my mind, it's an application that's going to be LLM related. This could be ChatGPT, this could be Gemini, this could be an application that's doing video or maybe creating images or reviewing documents that basically is not allowed by my management or by my IT. And I decided myself to go and do it. And because I have a credit card or anything else, I can do it because there is no way, easy way for the company to not allow me to do this or prevent me to do this.
Think you considering that's people going and pulling their card. I know small businesses that use just free ChatGPT account on their laptop and use the client information that's put inside this free ChatGPT to draft the email or to draft the response, including phone numbers, emails, account numbers, or payments regarding the deal they had. That's the shadow IT, like because nobody knows you're using that, right? And you can do it on your phone and you can do it on your laptop. And if you don't, if your company doesn't monitor what you do in the browser, this is what you have. And I see also almost every second small business we work with.
Maybe I can just say that as I learned from previous explanation, it's very simple to as shadow IT now. I mean, we never had a full solution to address that one. On top of that, now we have shadow AI, and shadow AI can be very. I mean, it's not a big concept if we want to explain. It can easily someone that decided to put. Let's say from our I'm working security operation, so let someone try to put our information command line that can have the IP, can have IOC, can have everything, and that is even that data can include PII, sorry. So any sensitive information, data that someone tried to use the open source for even good reason. Maybe good reason can be even trying to ask a help for the investigation they are doing on the daily job in security operation. So, and that way is not authorized or is unsanctioned. So is not the way that our governance team let the people do that, because it can put the organization in the risk of data exposure, which is very kind of unwanted things. So I mean, people as a leaders organization should do something for that, and that can be checking the network traffics from the company. I'm just moving to the solution part, maybe what I think about that. So they can check the CASP, cloud access security broker data, that's what the log of every person that is happening, what is authorized, what unauthorized, and they should have that visibility. I know there is some solution right now that you can see what person run which command and had that access. So we should go to that direction to try to have visibility. I know it's we have some, we are so in the beginning. Or the other thing is, you can put your own guardrail. That I know that bank, there is a lot of governance policy that they just put the guardrail and people cannot just go to some website. So it could be some solution, but I always think that you should tell the people that something is not allowed in this company, for what reason. So that's again like a social engineering practices, like all the tabletop exercises. Maybe we should try or design some training for that side, for the user awareness part, because no one can put the organization in risk rather than human. And now again there is another layer of the security risk can be added for shadow AI.
Um, I think, Alina, earlier you had a definition of shadow AI, and I think as we talk about it, it is the same thing you were talking about, because nothing drives shadow AI faster than, I don't know, 50-page acceptable use policy, because no one's going to read that, right? So people are just going to do their own thing and be like, "Meh, I'm not going to go through this. I don't know what's safe, what's not. I'm going to do something and see if that sticks." So I think, like, Mina says, let's just ban everything, watch everything, tell them not to do it. That works only to a certain extent, in my experience, with different clients, from anything from a small to large. The reality is, like, yes, provide the sanction AI tool early, but also, like, one thing that's super important is, like, build really simple AI usage policies people can follow. Like, if you give them like thousands of pages to read, they're not going to read it. They're not going to follow it. Tell them what data is safe, what can be uploaded, what can be downloaded, what prompts are accepted and stored. Short, practical, understandable by non-technical people, because a lot of people who use these tools also not technical. So you giving them instructions that no one understands, or very cyber focused or risk focused instructions, are not going to be appreciated. And then, like, take care of your data and things should be okay. I think there's only so much putting monitoring and tools can do. There's always work around it. And then, given all the information that anyone can get these days super quick, people can find a way to get around that. So I think just providing easy access and clear policy and all of that will help with the shadow AI more than anything. That's just my experience.
Can I add one more point?
Yeah, sure.
I want to relate what Negar said with what Alex said in the beginning, that I really resonate with that, because Alex started that we cannot have one solution fits all. So in a stage of the size of organization that he explained, so Negar is 100% right. So we cannot put that, and we should just make sure that people understand, because as you said, everyone just scroll down all of those terms and conditions to find the accept and then just go to the next page. So I think really, if putting any policy, one of the most important one that I can relate is the size of organization, because today I had a discussion with someone that I just told them maybe I can tell the cybersecurity data team in one language that I cannot explain that policy to this maybe the sales and marketing and HR team. So make it simplify for governance and let them the people follow. I think that could apply in these scenarios.
Actually, I'm going to ask you an interesting question now. How can we keep up? We are using AI. I build with my team agentic AI systems. We help sales, marketing, compliance, operational efficiency, chatbots. But imagine AI in the wrong hands. How can you keep up? If you have got AI agents that are reasoning and maybe adapting, but let's imagine they are not doing something good and positive, but in a case of a bad actor, you're talking scams, hacks, you're talking cybersecurity breaches. Do we now need to stand up and have AI tools to fight those AI-driven attacks? Are you also seeing maybe different types of attacks, or is the same type of thing, but more of it and faster, maybe?
It's a very touchy topic in my mind because as an industry, sometimes we jump to new shiny toys, faster, better, but in majority of the time we don't have the correct playbooks. So if you want to deploy an AI SOC or some kind of AI tool that will help you analyze information faster, if you don't have the basic, it will not able to find and will not have all the information. If you don't know something exists, you cannot protect it. So while I definitely support the idea to have AI tool that can help us with the information and go against the bad guys, we still need to understand how we actually triage problems, how we understand problems, who do we escalate. So we need to first understand what's happening in our environment, how the bad guys can come in and get out of the environment, so architecture and design, flow of the data, what kind of data we have. We mentioned DLP before. Can we actually understand the context and how do we categorize data? Create playbooks, and based on this, now we can have AI tools to go faster and help us with the information and defend our companies.
Alex, what are you seeing from your
I wanted
experience?
to take us to the basics. Like I have conversation with the clients that's talking to me about AI attacks, what we're gonna do, and I always go to the basic. The only thing that's changed and the speed that the bad guys moving. Okay, but if you don't do your patching for your known vulnerability for the last 6 months, don't be concerned with someone who can move in your environment instead of in 1 hour in 5 minutes. You have known vulnerabilities that you don't care about. Why you users still have admin access to every single system? Like I sometimes go into the companies, 100, 200 employees. Everybody has admin rights on their laptops, on their computers. Let's deal with the basic. Let's talk about defense in depth, right? Let's do segregation of the networks. Let's segregate users that not supposed to have admin rights to the systems. So only few people actually have admin rights and can install software. You already double your chances to survive. Do your backup. Like, do you really do the backup? I can't imagine how many times I talk to the people, they think they know backup. They never try to restore from the backup. And when something happening actually doesn't work because the system just, creating empty files. So I suggesting let's go to the basics, user management, network segregations, backups, and then let's talk, how we start to move faster. Because if you don't have the basics, it doesn't matter how fast these guys move, you're moving slow. That's kind of my 2 cents.
I can kind of jump in. I think your question was more so around, like, if if the attackers now got so sophisticated because they're using all the AI tools, why don't we use the AI tools to kind of defend ourselves? Right? Like attackers now have like AI Copilot, theirs don't need procurement approval and a 42 pages policy. Let's get ourselves to something we can. That's absolutely right. And then we should be using it. But, and obviously, like to Alex's point, cover your bases, but how do you move on that? Because there's a lot to consider when you want to use this, these tools within your SOC that you have to kind of have your bases down first. Like, first thing first, Elena, you know that better than anybody. Data quality and context is key when you're building something around AI. AI is only good as the data you feed it. Gross, like, imagine financial services, retail, all of them, telcos, they have different environments. They have retail has POS telemetry, payment rails, right? Like finance has other data, and it all gets absorbed. If you don't give it context, and if this data is not normalized, labeled, and enriched enough for the AI to act on, you're just kind of giving it mumbo jumbo and it doesn't know what to do with it to defend you properly. That's a significant engineering challenge that you have to really give it context as what this data is. Um, the second thing you have to have down is the signal to noise problem. That doesn't disappear. It just shifts. There's so much data AI can dramatically increase the detection capability, but without proper tuning, it can also flood your SOC with high confidence false positives. Here's one, here's two, here's three, and you get confused. So, in regulated industries, you analysts end up in alert fatigue because it just flags everything without any context. And ironically, you're worse than where you were before because now you're just looking at everything and they're super confused. I think there was an example of that I've given in other sessions. Like Goldman Sachs they had a SOC alert fatigue many years ago. Everyone knows Goldman Sachs. They're one of the largest financial institutions in US, and they process billions of transactions daily. So they early on they put an AI-based fraud detection, and the several tier one banks, and they create so many alerts that the SOC team just dismissed all of it. And then, and then they actually had an incident because of that, because they just dismissed everything because they got tired. And then they in post-incident reviews, they looked at it, they're like, yeah, there was a ton of events, but you just didn't look at it because you got tired. So it all important of like, how do you use it? How do you give it enough context? And how do you really kind of get around these issues that they can pop up as a part of using this data and AI for the SOC teams?
I can continue discussion to answer your question because incident response changed dramatically. We have attacks that is or attackers are AI enhanced. So we have saying something that we say in incident response. We are always we are following doing something when it happened. That's why now this year you hear a lot that the people said we should move from reactive to proactive planning or investigation. Of course, it's changed. The threat landscape changed completely, and it's very challenging. But to the point that Negar mentioned about implementing AI solution in SOC operation team, which is I'm touching right now in day-to-day job, it's a very complex environment, I can say. We don't have go no go right now because there is a lot of area that we want to make sure that we address alert fatigue and false positive and repetitive unnecessary task with the automation and adding the AI. But at the same time, there is a big risk of gap or missing real incident because even false positive maybe in the graph or in the metrics KPIs, you can see, okay, there is a reduction in the number of false positive, but you are not sure that is happening. And at the same time, about the containment and execution, you cannot rely on the AI that make a containment of any device in your environment without any human intervention, because you want to make sure that because of all of the loss of service or service availability of your company, which is you have your customers, you have your contract. So it's really important. And one morning someone comes with a new idea and says we have to deploy this in our environment, and everyone now have ideas to one, let's do it, and they have their numbers that it can save the time, labor time, and this is that you hear a lot about in executive discussions. They love those kind of discussion, but we should make sure that those recommendations first apply in your environment, because SOC is very complex. And the other side is that it should be transparent and aligned with the company governance that we discussed. It should be simple to understand. And for incident response, uh, now we should even predict or be in the shoes of the attackers, because now they have AI. So, and AI give them even much better or craft much better attacks, like a phishing. Now you can do the phishing email 3 seconds with AI that looks very legit, that people will can easily fall in the social engineering attacks. So that's what I'm thinking. In the security operation, we should make sure that keep the human, and at the same time make sure that we don't miss any real incident within all of those automation hype that we have right now.
So the bad
Just
actors
one.
have got AI now. How are we actually going to keep up?
I'll give you example from what we use ourselves and I see with other cybersecurity company. We use a lot of AI to enrich the data that we receive as part of the alert. So if before that the analyst in SOC was receiving the alert and had to go to one place to find, okay, who else was communicating with this IP, go to Virus Total to see what kind of file, what other vendors think about this file, what if there is any additional things we can use to enrich the data. So today, as soon as we have alert, literally 30 seconds after that, whatever is popping up to the SOC analyst is something that's before that it was taking them 10 minutes to find all this data. So today, and this is how it worked literally, and I do have to appreciate what majority of the vendors do today, and every single major vendor in the space already have some AI capabilities. I don't want to say about everyone, I don't want to say all of them perfect, but there are already some AI capabilities in every single tool. So what something was taken 15 minutes before that, today analysts don't need to waste time on this and just popping up in front of him as part of the alert, and he can make decision much faster based on a much more information that's in front of him. So that's how we try to keep up with the speed of the bad guys, just to bring much more information in front of the analyst. And I agree with Mina. I don't want AI to make decision that's AI going and isolating the major server in the client environment. What is it's a business critical, right? If it's okay, it's a laptop of some employee, but what if a server? If it's something that we saw sometimes AI took some legitimate activities as a fraudulent attempt, or when the new update to the backup, they were thinking it's just someone stealing the data and they was trying to block it. So I do want analysts to make the final decision to block or not to block, to isolate or not to isolate. I agree with what Mina said. We do still want analysts before they click the button.
Mhm. So are you envisioning a future with now AI-enabled cybersecurity teams, but still keeping that human in the loop?
Yeah, I love that answer this question. I love the concept of semi-autonomous. So it means that, as Alex said, I really don't want to have full autonomous, because I mean, it will back to us and we will have zero ROI for any solution, even maybe minus, because you put your solution in for some, let's say make a profit, or you have your customers, you want to have more additional services. So, and on top of that, your reputation. So semi-autonomous, as Alex mentioned, we have incident response phases. So for triage, even for kind of, I always said, for pre-investigation, analysts need the toolkit to have the better image of what's happening on that attack, or they have to good visibility to IOC, voice triggered, what happened, that kind of things that everyone now is knows. For example, about OSINT tools, about data gathering, even incident summary. That's really interesting. For example, what happened, what is the storytelling for that? AI is really good in that. But after that, that's why I'm saying semi-autonomous. Now we have the human, and human is checking what AI said, because AI have a risk of hallucination, bias, and even wrong information. It happens a lot of time. You can see that AI doesn't provide the information, because the information comes from some patterns that you can see in that same situation, but it doesn't necessarily apply in your environment. So in that situation, analysts come in the place for investigation, and then review all the information, and then go to the phase, okay, false positive, true positive, and if it's the false positive, okay, so, and label it, and next time when attack comes, AI start to just make a pattern recognition and then decide. But at the same time, for remediation, eradication, and post incident response, for all of those parts, human should be decision maker, because we need that judgment and we need experience. Because for the last part of this answer, I can say we know the history of our environment, and we know what happened last year for this client, but we inject AI this year. So that history, even maybe we don't want to share with the AI, because it's kind of our proprietary information. So that's what I'm saying. We should be semi-autonomous and never go to fully, because even myself, I cannot sleep at night when I see that someone is making decision in the environment for customers without our intervention.
I actually think there is something in the middle, and I want to revert back to what's saying about playbooks. So if you're talking about SOC usually have playbooks, and if you have several different playbooks for what we're doing, and the junior analysts usually follow a playbook on what to do, depending on the level. And I actually envision time when certain playbooks, when they're defined, and Mina, I like your comment about environments, because if we're talking about do everything, it's not going to work. If we're talking about a particular environment, particular customer, when we have the AI doing a playbook, and then we have human in the loop for a certain time, and then we give a playbook to AI that we kind of tested multiple times, and we'll let AI do this. This could be potentially password reset, this could be potentially isolation. There's multiple ideas here, but I do envision where we're going to have simple tasks, not very kind of complicated in some cases, where we can do it. Now, we can, of course, debate that maybe this is the password is complicated or isolated device is complicated, but we can maybe say, what if AI make a mistake once and 99 times doesn't make a mistake? So if it see potentially malware problem or outbreak in the environment and would isolate a device, and it's going to make a mistake once versus 99 times will be correct, for me, I will accept this, because better to contain the malware faster, for example. So we'll see how it goes, but I do envision we're going to give the AI ability to actually do prevention and do some kind of remediation as well.
I wanted to ask you actually about Anthropic's mythos. It is something that has shaken the community a bit, especially the cybersecurity community. For those of you who are not aware, Anthropic unleashed a new model, Claude Mythos, but it wasn't released to the public. And the reason why, and this is also why it's such an interesting situation here, is that this new model, and Anthropic said publicly that Mythos has got advanced cybersecurity capabilities, including ability to identify previously undiscovered vulnerabilities across operating systems, browsers, critical software. What's dangerous here is that and by the way, the model wasn't designed to be a cybersecurity genius. It's just a general multi-purpose large language model, but it's extremely good at identifying vulnerabilities, and it can chain these vulnerabilities together, create exploit paths, autonomously reason. through complex attack scenarios, and this alarmed the security community, which is why Anthropic now calls it Project Glasswing, and they only let about 40 companies play with this new model. So is this something that we should be concerned about? Let's say this goes into the wrong hands. 40 companies, big companies, we're talking big, giant companies. Lots of employees now have access to this new model. And the question is, what does this tell us? An existence of a model like Mythos. What's the future of AI and related cyber risk? Should we be pretty much terrified right now in the enterprise?
I think majority of the enterprise already terrified. People really, really afraid that I'm talking to about. And in majority of the cases, they're afraid because they now pretty much need to understand how they gonna bump and improve their patching. Because the problem with vulnerabilities, the more we find vulnerability, we need to patch. And if you talk to large enterprises, even small enterprises, usually everybody is behind on patching. So this is one problem everybody see. The part that I don't think people see, and if you look on LinkedIn and many people talk about it, there's few things. One, if vulnerability was identified, like for example with Linux or Unix, somebody need to get to this device. We don't usually put devices on the internet. I hope so, not anymore at least. And Alex was talking about defense in depth. So how is the architecture of your environment? Do you have defense in depth? Do you have multiple ways to get there? Do you have endpoint security on these devices? Do you do some kind of control using this? Because even if your device is vulnerable, but you have an endpoint protection, a different protection, or maybe next generation firewall or WAF there, it will still can be protected. So while it is very scary in a way, and eye-opening on what we need to do, I think it's shining the light even more on the basic of cybersecurity, and that we don't need to forget what need to be doing. There was also interesting research on the cost of finding this vulnerability. For example, some of them, and some people claim it was actually very expensive on the talking. So it is found it faster, but potentially human can find it as well, even potentially with the less money. And there was another research later on that actually suggested this vulnerability was already found a couple of years ago, in this case in Unix, and wasn't very at a high level. But overall, from a perspective, we are going to have these models in one way or another, the bad guys. It means they're going to go faster. It means they're going to be able to scale much, even faster than before. And it means we will need to protect ourselves faster and respond faster as well.
And maybe I can continue that. Actually, it was very eye-opening in terms of we shouldn't rely now just to the all of those standard static scanner or CV databases and wait that someone from vulnerability management team send an email and everyone jump on the call to make a patch and find the patch. I don't know like what happened for the SharePoint last year. So, and everyone was asking, is it which version, what year, and is it on-prem or is it in the cloud? So at that point, it was very eye-opening, I think. And at the same time, and this part I learned today from my friend Cizo, that he told me that, Mina, maybe for this cloud Metis one, we have 2-3 years of a lot of patch management. So, and we need that. I said, Mina, just be patient, because for next 2-3 years, everyone wants to just patch everything. And there was a good part that I really like that perspective. And he told me, Mina, but at the end of the day, our software, or let's say our app security now is more stronger and more resilient than before. Let's assume we address those vulnerabilities. That's why I should say this doesn't come from myself. I learned today from him. But what I can say, yeah, it's kind of, even Mites was kind of mindset shift for security operation policies or vulnerability management. Because even in those departments now you have to know that as we heard that it's coming, even human can find it, but we cannot deny that fact that all of those vulnerability came at the same time. I know it's expensive, but I mean, it come and it put the people at a panic loop. But I mean, it was eye-opening too. So of course, it's scary, and I'm sure that everyone is scared. But now we are over. We are over with that panic phase, and now we should see that okay, now is the time to take action. And I cannot say, but we should be hopeful that it's not in the bad people or bad guys' hand, because of course they can take advantage of that one.
First, I want to emphasize that Mythos is just one of the models that can fast and furious to find the vulnerabilities. Okay, there is every single big LLM, small LLM, Chinese free LLMs, they can find vulnerabilities in the code. For me, actually, the fact that Mythos happened, it's a very good outcome. I can give you an example. I have a small financial institution that I'm talking to the IT manager, CISO, probably once in a quarter. I talk to the CEO once a year, and it's very hard to convince them that they need to do more that's required by regulation. Now suddenly I get a call from CEO asking me to participate in the board meeting. So it's get this point that you do need to spend resources on a cybersecurity. It took it from the CISO who is trying to convince CFO or CEO, it took it to the board. Now board has panicked and say, what do you need from us? That's nothing going to happen to us, right? So it took this discussion from very technical and budget to the board that says, do whatever need to be done to make sure it's not happening to us. So I think it's actually in the long term, it's good for cybersecurity professionals that have probably now better visibility to what they do day to day, and probably will have more support from the C-level and from the boards of the corporations to do things that need to be done instead of fight every time for each additional security control or additional project. So I hope there will be a good outcome from the whole hysteria that we see right now.
I guess to just wrap up everything, as you just said, Alex, Mythos conversation isn't really about one model. It's about what happens when vulnerability discovery, exploitation, and operational scale all become AI native all of a sudden. And then it makes our quarterly patch cycle so adorable in this age because it's just a joke. And you pointed this out earlier, like do your basics, right? Assume AI accelerate vulnerability discovery and exploitation. Just assume that. And then, test resilience and containment, not just prevention, because prevention can do only so much, but you know it's going to happen. So you make sure you invest in resilience and containment. And then, as Mina said earlier in one of the conversation, use human approval gates for high risk automated actions. You can automate some stuff, yes, but for high risk one, you definitely need human approval. So just make sure you bring that in. And again, it all comes to basics, right? And then don't treat AI like another SaaS application because it just isn't.
So, as we close today's discussion on AI and cybersecurity across the enterprise, if you could give enterprise leaders one piece of advice to help them securely scale AI over the next year or two, what would it be? And maybe you could add what is one mistake that they should avoid.
Start mistake to avoid. If you're building AI application in-house, please don't use production data for this information. Use something else for this because it's going to cost you a lot of money later on. So this is one part to avoid. And before you go in building something, establish very, very simple policies of what can or cannot be done. And then look on your asset management that you can actually create a list and assets of what AI application you're going to be used inside the company.
State, I see some companies say, oh, we can now develop our own applications. We don't need software engineers. We don't need QA. We just wipe code the application, and I saw a few of these already. You don't know what data they take, you don't know where this data goes, but you're just happy with the outcome because it did something for you. And I already have clients whose emails were deleted. I know not my client, but company that the code was deleted because the AI decided it's not efficient enough, it's need to be rebuilt. Right? So don't rush. Don't block AI,
Good.
but do it properly. Don't rush.
Production
That's
data, big no.
protection. That's right.
Yes, don't rush, don't wipe code and
Don't
expect
like
miracles.
them. Yes.
I should be second because Alex mentioned what I wanted to say. Can I mention two? One of them is because this technology works, it doesn't mean that you should do that. That's really important. So don't rush. That's really important. If you are going to deploy anything, so just because everyone is doing, because now is everyone wants to do that because they believe it's working, but it doesn't mean you should do that. And the second one was about what earlier mentioned. So if you want to have the good solution environment, actually this is mostly about C level or executive level, who owns the data in your environment. So if something happened to your team, or if there is any let's say data leakage or data exposure, who do you go and say where did data came? And I'm coming from conference today, so I have a lot to say. But I mean, if I want to relate that with the security, which is panel discussion, so this data that you have in your environment, who is the responsible of saying that when it comes, and what is the flow in your environment, and how you filter that data? You should have that accountability in your environment, because they always the question, if AI make a mistake, who do you blame? So that's why humans should be accountable, and that's why AI is our teammate. We cannot blame AI, and we cannot fight. If I want to say that too, that could be who is on your data in your environment, and what Alex mentioned already.
I'm just going to wrap it up. Security used to protect the business. Now it has to enable the business at this point, instead of just protecting it. And what Alex said, the companies that win won't be the ones avoiding AI or delaying AI. They'll be the ones that surviving it super responsibly. So use it responsibly. Don't avoid it. Don't delay it, and it all should be fine.
Excellent advice. So shadow AI, something not so good. We should be maybe doing more education. We heard today that production data, you should be careful with it. Secure education, that's important. And lots of good comments today, a good discussion about the future of AI and cybersecurity. And yes, we should be afraid, but maybe we should also be doing our foundational work. So I thank our speakers for this evening, Mina Movahedi, Alex Plotkin, Negar Farjani, Yevgeny Haram. I thank you, and I thank the audience. Thank you for joining us, and have a good evening.